Hi everyone, let's talk about Architects of the West Kingdom, which I just finished a two-player cooperative playthrough for, with its Age of Artisans expansion and Tomesaga. Let's talk about all of those things now. If you'd like to see the game in action and see how we got to all of this stage, the playthrough is linked below. And I also did a solo playthrough live that I'll link as well. All sorts of Architects going on right now. So yeah, I've been in the last couple of months or so on kind of a West Kingdom binge, and all of the games are going to be coming up in the coming weeks as well. Paladins and Viscounts of the West Kingdom. So Architects, the last one that I came to, the first one released, I think that the core mechanism of this, so it's worker placement. It's keep placing your workers in the same spots with some exceptions, of course, but keep placing your workers in the same spots, get more resources, use those resources to build buildings, maybe go up in the cathedral. And yeah, you've got nice twists in that with the getting the apprentices and the special powers and encouraging you to go back to particular places. You've got the black market, which I've covered up with the game box, but that can get you some rarer goods, some really juicy things if you are willing to pay and lose the virtue for that. And the virtue is a lovely thing in there, restricting you. If you're too corrupt, the cathedral don't want to know. If you are too virtuous, the black market don't want to know. So do you want to float in between those, or do you want to go to one of the extremes and keep writing off your debts because you are so pure, or keep avoiding loads of tax because you are down on the corruption track? That's a lovely element as well. But the core thing, and also I'll get onto this in a minute, the reason why I wouldn't want to play multiplayer is the fantastic thing of you getting your workers back through this arrest mechanism. So you can, which I didn't really do in the multiplayer one anyway, in the co-op one, you come over to the town centre, you can arrest a group of workers over here, all of the workers in a location of the same colour. So if somebody keeps going to the forest and they've got, 3 or 4 meeples here, well, for one tax that maybe I can even avoid if I'm corrupt, I can just place my worker here, arrest all of your workers, and then later on take them to the guardhouse in the normal game, get a coin for each of them, and then later on, as your workers build up here, maybe you need some workers, maybe you're here for other things and you've got another action to spend, you can just grab them all back. Your artisan changes things a bit because you might really want them back, especially if you've got a strongman that enhances the abilities of your artisan, but I'll get onto that. I think it's such a clever way of, I keep saying I'll get onto everything, hopefully we will. It's such a fantastically clever way of not only getting your workers back, you don't have to have that turn where you just, here are all the turns where I'm doing things, and then I have to have a turn where all I do is just get my workers back. You don't need that, because maybe that's what it's going to end up being. You're going to have an action to get them back to the guardhouse. Maybe you don't care. You've got loads of workers in here. It would take a pretty big effort to be stifling your worker amount, because they're probably not getting left out there. They're probably getting arrested if you are building them all up there. Maybe towards the end of the game, as you've put loads out in the guild hall and stuff, and if a few players are doing it. But then you've got the thing of you can come over here, pay a load of coins, or take a debt and lose a virtue to get all of your workers back from playboards. So if they dawdle and don't do it right away, you could, if you're rich and they've risked arresting your workers, you can just get them all back. They don't get the rewards from that, and you've got your workers right away to use next round. It's such a clever system. It balances out, going to these locations, because maybe somebody is targeting you. You're winning. You're about to build some great big thing, and they need to stop you, and so will arrest your workers. But what it's most likely going to be is just, well, I could do with some money. I can do a few arrests at the town centre. I've got a couple of workers built up there. So you've got 4 built up in the quarry. Wow, I'll grab them, and for one action, I have arrested them, and now I can take them to the guardhouse of the future and get some coins for myself. And maybe I'm building up to go there to go and release a load of my workers as well. The workers then only really matter in there when there's a black market reset, which is another kind of extra thing on going to these black market spaces, that when they're full up or when certain things happen in the guild hall, there'll be a reset. Everyone there gets arrested. If you've got loads there, at least 3, everyone loses a virtue. Could be bad, could make you gain a debt if you're really low down. and then the most gains a debt, which is losing 2 points. But then that can be flipped if you've got enough money to get you a virtue instead and no negative points. Or there are several ways you can get to the top of the virtue track for one to just get rid of those debts. And it's kind of bursting with all of these clever ideas. The turns are usually super snappy. Maybe if you're doing things in the cathedral and it's led to a black market resets and a few things there can be a few things to process, but usually it's just, okay, that's there, I gained this many resources, that's there, okay, my options at the King's Storehouse, I've got these 2 things, maybe I've got some cards that give me more options, and that's another great thing in itself. Yeah, it's a really, really great game, and I'll say that we'll get on to the other games in their things. As cool as I find the game, this is my least favourite of the trilogy so far, I think. But yeah, not in a negative way that, oh, there are all these things that I don't like about it. I like the other ones even more. So I mentioned, and this is probably quite, well, of course, everything I say is my personal opinion, but the thing I said about not wanting to play it multiplayer, and I did actually avoid. We played Raiders of the North Sea probably when it came out in a game group, and I thought, oh, this is a cool game, bit mean for us. I'll say I'm pretty extreme in that direction. Don't really want any kind of negative player interaction. And let me finish. You can comment before I've finished, of course, but you can't stop me from talking. Well, you can pause it and close the window. Don't encourage those ideas. So yes, and then I saw Architects, the Essen that it came out, and had it described to me and stuff, and the arrest mechanism kind of, I don't really want to do that. As clever, I still stand by everything that I said about it. I think it's a wonderfully inventive, fantastic system. I still don't want to do it multiplayer. I had it confirmed when I got hold of the game and then played it solo and thought, yeah, I still don't want to do this. And then now that Rach has played in the co-op mode as well, confirmed my suspicions that, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. Even though, as I said before, it's not like, it's not particularly a thing that you are doing to a player. You are doing it kind of incidentally a lot of the time, I think, to get money for yourself. Or just because, you can't just let someone build up 6 or 7 workers in a space like that and just get a ridiculous amount of resources. But yeah, even so, I'm not fussed myself about playing the multiplayer part. I think that the solo version is implemented really well. Again, it is the simpler of the 3 games and solo modes, although I hear there is a new expansion coming out for this that's going to revolutionise the solo mode of it. Looking forward to that. Where was I? Yeah, solo mode works fantastically. It's the snappiest as well. Just like in your multiplayer games, it's just flip over the... It's similar to the Overlord's cards we saw in this. You can see it in the solo playthrough that I did. But it gives you instructions as to what he's going to do with those actions. He's going to usually earn some things for himself, block off some spaces, arrest some workers in a certain flowchart and stuff. But really, really snappy and quick, and still leaves you a lot to think about, and is a good challenge. So the Tomesaga, I haven't played the competitive campaign of the games. We are working through the cooperative versions of the games. And yeah, as I mentioned, it works a little bit similarly to the solo one. It's got, the starting and future card. It's going to get more powerful cards mixed in its deck as you go along. But it's more that the focus is still on you as players. It's still on your turns. You're doing largely the same things, but, in a different context. The Overlord is there kind of rampaging around the board, arresting workers left, right, and centre. Depending on how those cards come out, he might be more of a problem. It just happened to be in our first game. He seemed to be shadowing Rach. Every time she went somewhere, he went there as well and got her meeples up. But then that is a signal that maybe you want to just keep going back to the place he's just been to then, because it's unlikely that he's going to go back there again. But yeah, he's doing other things as well. He's adding some tax sometimes. He puts your workers in the prison rather than just saving them to himself. And, you can get them back from his arrest area if you want with that same action still. You've got the punishment as well. In the solo, find that the tax stand gets really, really lucrative, and it's beautiful. But in this, there are still plenty being added to it, but you've got the risk of the cards in the Overlord's deck that he's going to really punish you. He's going to make you lose a load of virtue for having loads of coins in here. So you are even more incentivized to come over here. If you're going to lose the virtue, you might as well get all the coins that were hanging out there. And he keeps clearing it out. As it goes on, he gets more cards that flip over more cards and get him through his deck. Not quicker, because they're usually cards that he's gained himself, but let him have these great big chain turns where maybe he can arrest loads of people in one go, or cycle through loads of his workers, because when he's got none left, he grabs all of them back from all of the playboard. So if you've arrested them, tough luck, you've wasted your time. You should have either thought about what he was going to get in there or taken them to the guardhouse quicker. The demands are nice as well, that give you another thing to think about, rather than just how are we going to score the points in the cathedral and the buildings. And just, it's a different combination of those depending on what you want to do, depending on what powers you've got. I love that you can play with the variable sides. The solo, the base rules for it at least are that you play with the standard version of the wards, which is fine, but I like having the special powers. I like having the different starting bits. But yeah, the demand cards, you could ignore them if you think you're going to earn enough points elsewhere to counteract the negative points. And in a game with more players as well, everyone losing 4 points in, say, a 6-player game, which this goes up to, is probably something to get rid of, rather than just you getting one more building out. Might be worth you just putting a couple more resources on there and averting, 20 odd points negative for everybody else. The event cards are a nice thing to have to worry about, can really get in your way depending on the timing of these, of course. A black market reset at the wrong time can make, as we saw in this, can make everyone gain a load of debt. The Overlord can't gain debt, but he can avoid you from getting debts if you're at the top. He makes you lose workers as well at different rates too with the future card system, depending on what he's got and when. It's can change up how he feels, how he plays as well. Yeah, I think it works really, really well. It's a plus for me because it's given me the multiplayer experience of it, and I think it's a bit much working out all of the donations and stuff, which is a completely new thing to the co-op as well. And it's great that you can trade things between each other as well as going to these demand cards. But yeah, it's great that it's allowed me to play with my particular peccadillos. It's managed to allow me to play in the multiplayer mode. But yeah, the solo mode's great in it as well. I imagine you will probably, unless you are incredibly similar to me, you will probably not find the rest thing a problem at all in the multiplayer, and will really enjoy it. And good luck to you if you do. But yeah, I really, really enjoy Architects. So we're going to be getting into the rest of the trilogy in the coming weeks. I don't know quite when. I don't know quite when you're going to see this. But it will be soon, no doubt. Thank you very much for watching. I feel like I went on for ages here. Hopefully not. But hey, maybe you want to hear a lot about Architects. Maybe there's a lot to know. We'll see though. Thank you very much for watching this. I'm going to stop talking now. Join me for future things. Join me for Paladins. Join me for Viscounts. If you would like to help me keep making things, there's a Patreon linked in the description. I said I was going to stop talking, didn't I? Bye, everyone.